What's good, YouTube? And welcome to the house. We have a special guest. Introduce yourself.
Yo, what's up, everyone? This is Trif, and it's an honor to be on John's channel talking about the best tech, best deck. Let's go.
So, interesting things have actually been happening with pendulums on the market. First, a huge drop in price of heavy metal faux electromite. It was bought out to the point of $18 before, and it's almost half that price for the Megaton version. The original holding on a little better. What do you think about this, like, price dip? Should people maybe be expecting it to peel off the ban list? Is that all speculation? What do you think on electromite?
Of course it's gonna drop, you know? It didn't get released on the list. So now, basically what Konami did here, Konami's trying to bless every single person watching the market watch right now because they know damn well, baby, that in 3 months' time, whenever the ban list comes, this card's coming off the list. And I want you guys to ask yourself a question. Did you guys miss out on GME multiple months ago? Don't worry. Who needs GME when you got ELE? That's Electrum, baby. And you're going to get your Electrum before it skyrockets to $100. Diamond hands to the moon. Pick up your Electrums.
Alright, I want to say any ban list investing is speculation, but I do feel like they've got to give more to pendulums. They're even doing it in side sets with the do-re-mis. They're getting a little more loose with pendulums. And there are some things that you had to point out. I have found Pendulum Call myself as a buyout, and it's been low in quantities for a long time, but the common is back way up in price towards $5 some odd and quickly goes up in the supers. Very low on the market. They have $7, $8 copies, and there's just not many sellers on this card. What do you think about, like, Pendulum Call overall?
I think Pendulum Call is going to signal the return of the most beautiful OG pendulums of all time, and that is Magicians. So why is this skyrocketing? Well, for one, the structure deck is expensive, Pivo is getting more expensive, and Magicians is just the second best deck after Endymion. So of course it's going to skyrocket.
Yeah, and you actually have something you brought up for that after this. Oracles are super cheap in price, but also very low in listing similarly. I've noticed this kind of dip down a couple times, then get revolving buyouts, but there's just not many of the supers. The secret unlims are barely there before the first heads have been, you know, $8, $12. They continue to go up over time, and right now sitting at 12. How do you feel about the Zephyras in general with pendulums?
Yeah, like I think Zephyrs is one of the decks that no one's talking about, and I just took like a month break off YouTube, doing some other stuff with life. But I've been playing a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh, and all I've been playing is Zephyr, and I think Zephyr is extremely powerful right now. And like you said, you could get the whole core for so incredibly cheap. So talking about some penny stocks here, you can get some really good value here with all the Zephyr cards, especially until like while Electrum's banned, you could get like every pendulum deck for insanely cheap.
And then, speaking of not cheap, Order of the Spellcaster structure. I told people on my channel when this went up to around $18, the displays, which were still around this price, making each structure a lot cheaper, would be a pretty good pickup, not only because Droll and Lockboard is format dependent, and you can rely on that value coming back, which it has, but then you have the Endymion engine in here, which is still extremely cheap as well, thanks to Droll. Kind of similar to Salamangreat and how Ash Blossom helped keep that cheap for so long. So, like, do you think the Endymion engine is definitely something you overall want to have access to at all times, and which pieces would you specifically be having?
Yeah, so actually, funny story with this, John. So, I was planning to do a sealed only Pen God edition, where I was gonna get 3 structure decks of this, and then pair it with some Zephyr cards of Pivo, stuff like that. I checked the price. I'm like, what the? It's for you. It's like 30 USD, right? For me, it's 50,
yeah,
that's $50 in Canada. I was like, what? I couldn't believe how expensive it was. So yeah, if people took your advice and got it before, they would have been skyrocketing in price. But anyways, yeah, the Endymion engine is just by far the best pendulum engine by a landslide. And even the original pendulum structure deck with Wisdom Eye Magician and Dragon Pit, even that one's like $50 now. So this one's just going to continue going up. And the second Electrum gets released from the list, this is gonna skyrocket even more. And like all you really need is just 7 cards. I would advise everyone, if you're gonna ever play pendulums, get your hands on them ASAP. Especially the engine in this structure deck, you only need like 8 cards. So
when I was pulling this up, I actually didn't notice, but Magister got bought out. Actually, there's only 11 listings of Magister specifically. Somebody went after him.
That's really surprising because Magister sucks.
Why did they go for him?
Man, I don't know. They must have just been bored or something.
Interesting.
Yeah, that card's man. I used to like it, but honestly, he should be ashamed to have Endymion in his name.
Yeah, I feel like the Master of Pendulum, the singles are actually incredibly cheap besides Pendulum Call and plentiful, whereas this, it has a lot more playability to modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Yet is playing catch up to the old Pendulum structure. So that's what's been going on with Pendulums. Anything else to add before we go to the rest of the meta inside of Market Watch?
All I want to say is Pen Best deck.
Let's go! So within the metagame, we actually have a ton of cards in the Megatons that are continuing to rise up in price right now. Konami just announced the Remote Duel Extravaganza, in addition to the fact that they're going to have a YCS as well, which, Trif, I understand you're playing Pendulums for both then. But with this, Forbidden Droplet is now starting to go back up, so is Triple Tactic Talent. People are picking up Axe Code Talkers. I personally think if you're not playing in these, it's a great time to sell the cards with the upcoming Megatons happening, which also, orders on those Megatons have been going. Yu-Gi-Oh! Daily has pulled their sales because you're no longer able to have that order window where you can get your Megaton orders in at super cheap prices. So tons of people either upping their prices. Chow Productions over at Gamer's Choice, they had an incredible deal where it was under 150 with code WhatsGood5, and now they're 175, which is the cheapest on market. YBM still has theirs at 185, originally 175, and then Tier 0 for International upped at about $5. So you're seeing everywhere either run out or up their prices because the order window is closed, and the Megatons this year are going to be bonkers, most likely, with the sets that are inside. If you're trying to big brain call what's not going to be in the tens, that game usually loses people a lot of money. It's more so, right now, if you're playing in those events, you're stuck buying up cards that you might not really want to get stuck with, and we already know Trif's playing Pendulums. Are there any techs that, like, you would be suggesting to pick up outside of what we talked about? Like, is there any core staples that you're going to be forced to diamond hands on?
Well, I was just gonna say, Droplets doesn't have a reprint announced, right?
Rise of the Duelist is guaranteed within the Megatons. So, like, if you're trying to play this game where you're like, oh, this might not be in there, this might not be in there, you have to remember every year they throw the kitchen sink at the Megatons. Like, the only card missing last year was Levianir, and then it got reprinted twice, right? So, whenever you try to play that game and you try to theorize, oh, this card's not in there, that card's not in there, it almost always ends up that most of it is, unless you go off the history. Like, Plunder Patrol could miss because TCG exclusives have missed multiple times. Like, Spiral wasn't in, Subterror wasn't in, but Konami could still throw it in. It's, you try to, like, see the mid-range cards that miss, but Konami almost always throws the kitchen sinks at these sets. Like, it's bad to theorize, I think, not to go for a card like oh, Droplet's not going to get reprinted. That's a little, A, trying to outplay Big Brain, and B, I think it's kind of a bad approach towards the Megatons.
Man, John, I gotta tell you something. It's really good to see how you're so smart with this stuff, man. See,
you gotta watch like Konami's history with these products.
You're like a doctor with this stuff, man.
That's too high of a praise for me. It's more so I've just played, and I like, back in the day, I was actually one of the bigger vendors, and I quit to do YouTube because it started to turn what I loved into something I didn't love as much, because you're turning all these cards that have effects into just numbers and A, B, C, D while sorting, and then going into, like, set numbers. You're just turning everything that you love into pretty much everything that just devalues it and makes you not see Yu-Gi-Oh cards the same anymore. So, like, that the vending kind of, like, turned it into office work, basically, whereas this, getting to talk about it and, like, talk about, like, prices changing and that kind of stuff, it doesn't turn it just into numbers anymore, because I'm not dealing with it all day every day. It's more so I get to watch things happen and then talk about it, which is a lot more fun for me.
That's a great point, Dr. John.
Not like this, but point being, is there anything you're kind of forced to pick up at high prices right now for your decks?
So what I would advise is, I know a lot of people don't play Pendulum, so I'm gonna try and say something here that that's good for everyone. But I would personally advise, if you're not even a semi-budget player, I would avoid picking up droplets now, in my opinion, just because I think you could get it later. I think it's going to get reprinted inevitably. What I would advise is you always have to prepare for what you think the meta is going to be. Like, okay, I'm gonna say this as quick as possible and to the point as possible. So when you're picking up cards, unless you're like rich and want to just throw money for no reason, the only reason you should buy cards is to put it in your deck or collect. Am I right?
Yeah, and so that's what I'm talking about. You have all these remote duel events coming up,
Yeah.
and people are going to be playing with them. So they have to buy into sets for certain decks that, like, they don't necessarily want to be buying into right now because their reprint clock is ticking. Eternity Code, Ignition Assault, Phantom Rage, and Rise of the Duelist are all confirmed for Megatins.
Whoa. Wait, so
yeah. Oh, so I guess you missed that one. Yeah, so those are all sets confirmed for the Megatins.
Bro, when are these Megatins coming out?
They are coming out,
September,
I believe, in August. I'm pretty
August,
sure.
September. Man, okay, yeah. So until then, we need to get our decks ready for losing to Trif Gaming at the Extravaganza. So what I would advise for everyone is always think of what the meta is going to be. If you look at this meta, there's a solid, like, there's a lot of Shaddoll, there's a lot of Dragon Link, there's just a bunch of random half-ass decks, man. They're all a bunch of garbage. You don't even need to pick up anything. Just play your favorite deck. You'll clap all these decks. Don't worry about looking for things.
I super agree with the sentiment as a player. I know this goes off the typical market watch, but if you play what you are most comfortable with, you will probably have the best result. People who switch last minute, sometimes you hear a story of success, but if you look at fighting game tournaments, you look at Yu-Gi-Oh! What you're most comfortable with means you're likely to know your routes the most against other hand traps or what you're going to do. So I do advise that, but a lot of people have offloaded cards right now because of the upcoming Megatins, so that's why it's just unfortunate they're going to have to do pickups. Now, speaking of not related to this metagame, we have Dawn of Majesty announced as a set that has the new Stardust and all of the stuff to go with that, and tuning has been bought out for the Ultimate Rare Huge. Starstrike Blast, the set that keeps on giving, the Ultimate Rares are up in price. I would suggest on a budget, if you are looking at this card and want a hollow form, Shadow Specters is so freaking cheap, and because of that, you have the Super Rare that was a promo for their special edition, still around $1, a pretty good pickup if you're in the market for a holographic version of this card. Now, this is one of those weird cases of structure decks, kind of like the old school Pendulum one. This used to get thrown out at the store almost. The ABC structures on release were selling for $20 because so many people wanted them. A top in a box, people were calling it. But the Magnet Warrior structure deck was, please, take it, $5. Play set of these for 10. Just take a trio. Now the Magnet Warriors have been bought out. I remember Magnetic Field getting bought out and then it got a speed duel version, so maybe that could happen to these someday. But they're not paying too much attention to speed duels. But yeah, the sealed structure decks of these are really up there, which has Yugi on the cover, matching a heavily opened Kaiba cover structure deck too. Mishion the Time Lord is up in price. One new lister at $6. Then it's $12. It's a burn half Time Lord. I have to feel like this is a meme rather than a serious buyout, but when I first read this card, I thought it was insane, so I could see how people reading it for the first time might go for it. I just really don't value this Time Lord like that. It's crazy to see this buyout, and nice to see people come back quickly who actually want to make a sale. Gaga Sister buyout actually has me looking more so at World Superstar and in general, something I said a while ago, these boxes were $55 ages ago, and you can even see market price, it's way above. Legendary Dragon of White went to $55, and I was like, the boxes are $55, so why aren't you just getting these sealed? And these are, like, let's put it this way. Blue Eyes and Dark Magician are some of the top collectibles. When they finally get Link monsters, you can bet there's going to be more revolving buyouts on these. It's a matter of when, though, more so than if, and that could be years and years down the line. So buying into speculation, you got to consider where your money can move and how often you can flip it versus sitting there waiting for something to happen as well. But these are somewhat solid holds. Madolches are way up in price for a lot of cards, and the most recent buyout is Solana. Salon. With Eternity Code confirmed in the Megatons, this is a bit surprising to see Salon targeted so heavily. It could get a rarity upgrade or downgrade within the 10s. Both would look nice, in my opinion. And then Tiramisu continues to have rolling buyouts as well. We got a dono. What's
Invest
this?
into Electromite.
Ah, boy,
Also,
vintage
welcome back.
values
We created
appearing
a
during the
search on
middle of Market
Zodiac.
Watch. Great for him. Speedroids have multiple buyouts. We've got Domino Butterfly. We've got Card Turbo. I was warning you guys, thanks to MCole40, that, hey, these are disappearing. They seem to be going up. And ones that I didn't even call out are going pretty crazy with the win support that is coming in the Duels pack. And I want to add on here, this is one that I brought out. Artifact Sanctum has been going up. And I mentioned this on Market Watch personally. And I feel like this might be because of Trap Trick. So I don't think it's a very good one. Like, in terms of a buyout, I do respect Sanctum. I think, like, the engine comes back in the metagames, but right now just feels like really weird timing for it. And the only thing I can think of that can make it more solid is a Trap Tricks deck, and you do have new support for that coming. You have Sarah up in price, you have the Murmillo buyout recently, so this more so connects it onto why it could be getting out and why people are after it. But you have the original first ed ultra rare cheap, you have the others, and I know Trif's favorite card is Scythe. Trif, you love having Scythe activated on you?
Eldritch, second best deck, baby.
Dude, but seriously, with this, I think that's why it's being bought out. And a final note, weird sealed products you might have in your closet could go up depending on if you never opened it. The sealed battle pack kits, Team APS told me he was hunting one down, so you might want to hit him up if you have one. He's looking for it for a skit. These are impossible to find. It's very rare that my connections can't produce something. I went out everywhere looking for him, and dude, the boxes, the sealed boxes are easier to get, so it's just like the design of this product was to rip open and play. Everybody did, and it seems impossible to find a sealed one for him to do, like, you know, a video with. So sometimes you might actually have held on to something that you didn't know was money and has gone up a freaking ton and become impossible to find. Just like the rare Trif gaming spotting in Zodiac. Any final words, Trif?
Yeah, I just want to say, if you guys are interested in learning about trade values, card values, I don't know what that even means, you've come to the right place. Don't go anywhere else other than House of Champs, baby.
And if you want to learn about pendulums, you better go to Trif Gaming. Pin best deck, let's go!
That's facts. Pendulum is the best.
All right, we're going to end this Market Watch. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to both channels if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed the conversation, and use that TCG player link in the description down below, costing you nothing extra to support the channel directly for the cards you'd already be buying.